As this crazy campaign draws to a close, Donald Trump ratcheting up his criticism about the media favoring Hillary Clinton's campaign. And joining us now from New York is Trish Regan, host of the Intel Report, which airs weekdays at 2 Eastern on Fox Business. So, Trish, I'm going to hold up cover of New York Magazine, Trump, loser, big close-up of his face, and the front page of the New York Times here, glowing picture of Hillary Clinton with Beyonce and Jay-Z. Thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, don't get me started on Jay-Z, because you want to talk about someone who is demeaning to women. That is Jay-Z. If you go and look at any of those lyrics, and we did this week on the Intel Report, and, you know, look, I can't even repeat them. I wouldn't even dare repeat them on the air. They are so horrible. And he's a misogynist in terms of what he's saying there, and it's horrible to think that he has had such a successful career promoting this kind of hostility to women. And then the idea that Hillary Clinton's touting him as someone, you know, who is one of her big supporters. I mean, to me, there's a double standard there in that, you know, this is a guy who writes horrifically about women, using many, many demeaning words. Of course, everybody's concerned about Donald Trump's words, and
right.
Granted, he is the one running for president, but to stand up there with the likes of Jay-Z and say that you're for women, I don't get it.
Now, Trump, of course, has complained, and I've talked about a lot of the coverage of him being imbalanced in the sense that he gets a lot of media scrutiny, far less for Hillary Clinton. And some of it's, you know, absolutely legitimate. Trump Foundation, his business record, charitable contributions, the statements. But has there been, in your view, any comparable, or I should say, not that Clinton hasn't been covered, but a comparable level of scrutiny of the Democratic nominee?
Well, I think that the media is incentivized to go after him much harder than they're going after her. I mean, we've seen evidence of this. For example, even in the WikiLeaks documents that have been released, that there is a cozy relationship, if you would, between many members of the media and the Clinton campaign. And so they, for whatever reason, and perhaps it's because of their own political bias, they are out to get Donald Trump in a way that they just aren't for Hillary Clinton. And so, yes, we're covering the WikiLeaks releases. We're covering the concerns about pay-to-play, whether or not that exists, but they certainly have come forward with a lot of evidence that suggests there's some impropriety there. We're covering that, but most of the media is reluctant to do so, Howie. They would much rather go after Donald Trump.
Well, I think that people get that. There's a USA Today poll by nearly 10 to 1. People surveyed think that the media want Hillary Clinton to win, and that's also true of 3/4 of Clinton supporters. But let me ask you about something that jumped out at me. New York Times liberal columnist Charles Blow writing about Donald Trump and saying, "With my last breath, America, are you blanking kidding? I cannot wrap my head around how others with level heads and sound minds can even consider Trump for president of this country." And to me, that's insulting to the people who, millions of people who support Donald Trump, when somebody says, "Oh, I can't even see how anybody can even consider the guy."
Well, you know, Charles is living in a bubble where he just doesn't get out much, I guess, because if you go anywhere in this country outside of some of the big metropolitan areas, what you see is that people are really hurting. They're hurting economically. They have lost their jobs. They have lost their jobs to places like China and Mexico. And so that is why this message is resonating. They don't like big political establishment types telling them what they should do. And frankly, this is a problem that political parties have had on both sides, right? I mean, you think about Mitt Romney and what he represented and how out of touch he was with the middle class in America. You now look at Hillary Clinton. She's out of touch. Suddenly you got a billionaire who's worth more than any of them, and he seems to be relating more to the middle class in a way that, regardless of what happens, the Conservative Party and the liberals as well, they need to embrace that more, because people are feeling it.
Let me just break it. I've got just a few seconds. Do you think it is fair to say that much of the mainstream media are out of touch with or insufficiently sensitive to the concerns of these millions of people, many of them working class, who think the system is broken?
Yeah, of course, because mainstream media, I mean, you know, people are highly educated. They're living in affluent areas. They have no idea what it's like to be living on a paycheck-to-paycheck basis, and you're worried about your factory shutting down because of the competition coming from overseas. You go to any little small town in upstate New York, and you see how devastated they are, Howie, and they're just, you know, just a fraction of what they once were.
Great to
That's
see you.
the feeling out there in the country, and the media doesn't get it.
Trish Regan, thanks so much. Good to see you. And meanwhile, both